So I went shopping last week and I found this cute welcome sign, but I think it's kind of boring. So I went on Instagram and I scrolled around and I found this cool idea using wire and resin to make flowers. But I don't like using resin, so I'm going to use wire and nail polish. My name is Randy and I like to make art and do crafts. Let me show you what we're going to be using to make this craft. You were about to skip to the next one, weren't you? If you're here just for the end result, just skip to this timestamp. It's okay, I understand, it gets boring, but please know that I work really hard on making these tutorials for you. So stick around if you like to learn something new, and let's get back into the video. This is some wire I got at the craft store. It's nice and thin. Then I just went through my nail polish stash and I just got a couple of colors. And lastly, we will need some pliers. I just got this cute little set that has a couple of different varieties. So let's start by prepping our wire. As you can see, when you roll the wire off of the block, it gets all kinky. No, stop it. Not that way. But we want to straighten it out. I'm just going to use the handle of this brush and I'm going to pull the wire just along it, but keeping it bent around it. And as you can see, it's almost straight. So I'm just going to do that a couple more times. So I think that's smooth enough. Let's just cut off a piece. And we're probably not going to need this much length. Let's just start and cut it here. And now we're ready to start our first design. I think a leaf would be the easiest. What we want to do is we want to make a bend, but we're not going to start at the end. We're going to leave some space. I think right about there should be fine. So that's about 3 fingers. So now we have a bend and we want to make 2 sides of the leaf, and I'm going to make them a little bit rounded. You can do it with the pliers or just with your hands. This is going to be a small leaf, so I'm going to let it stay right about this size. But now we need to twist these two together. I'm going to put my pliers on the side of the leaf, like so. And then I'm just going to twist the wires. And you can do it by hand like this. Or you can take another pair of pliers and put those over the wire and then twist. As you can see, using the pliers, your twist is going to be a lot tighter. But now we want to get rid of this loose end. So I'm just going to cut it. And that's our first leaf. Let's make some big ones. So I'm going to start with a piece of wire that is about as long as my hand. So I'm going to have a stem that's about, I think, this long. So 4 fingers. And I'm going to put in a slight bend. So it's going to look something like this. Now I'm going to make one side of the leaf. So now we've got this. And we're going to make a sharp point. Just like that. I'm just going to round it off to go back to the stem. Trying to make them a little bit even. Something like that. Now we can twist these together. And cut off the end. So this is what we end up with, but I've got another design I want to try. And we're going to start exactly the same way. So I'm just going to measure how long my stem needs to be before I make my first bend, right about here. Then I'm going to shape the first half of the leaf, like so. Then we need to do the top part and create the second part of the leaf, something like that. But instead of ending it here, we're going to be bending it around the start and then bending it upwards. So I'm just going to put my pliers on both of the ends. And then twisting it all the way around. And then we want to go up, creating a little loop on the bottom. And now we need to secure the end at the top. I'm just going to hold it in place and make it bend. We want to make this end go around one of the side of the leaves. So I need a place to hold it steady. So that's going to be on the top side. Now I'm just going to twist it around. It should look something like this. We can now cut off the end. Now we have 2 different designs, and I must be honest, I don't like this one as much as this one, so I think I'm going to use this one going forward. Okay, so I know I said I was going to leave them. I leave these leaves like they were, but I found something in my stash that might make them look even better. This is iridescent foil, and this is a green, purple, bluish one. And how cool would that look? It's really hard to show you, but I think that would look really cool. So what I was thinking is putting some glue onto the wire and sticking it to the foil and letting it dry and then cutting it out. So yeah, let's do one. So first let's cut a piece that's a little bit more to that size. I think that will do just fine. And I'm just going to put some glue. Oh, I think I have to mix this one. Hold please. So that was a bit messy. It's been standing for a little bit. It just gets a little bit weird, but I think I can use this. I'm just going to put it on one side. Don't want to put too much. I think that's more than enough. I'm just going to put it down And because the film is really thin, like this is the thinnest I've ever had this, it forms to the shape really well. So I'm just going to let that dry and then we can finish it off. So I just want to note something. Sometimes the wire isn't straight. You can see there's a bend here. You want it to be perfectly straight. And how I found doing that is, don't know if you can see, but the center one loops over and I want the rest to be equal to that. So I'm flipping that side down, then just taking a flat piece and I'm just pressing it down on my mat. And I'm focusing on the areas where it's going over each other. As you can see, now it's more flat. It's still a little bit curved. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the glue on that side where the middle one goes over, because that sticks out the most. And then the film tends to want to be round to one side. So I'm just going to match it up with the roundness of the leaf. That way it fits perfectly. So now it's touching the glue everywhere. So hopefully that helps. So it's the next day and the glue is all dry. You can see it turned transparent. And I also already trimmed the edges. And I just used a tiny pair of scissors. Now I want to remove this little edge. And I'm gonna have a little disclaimer here first. This craft is not for children. Again, I repeat, this craft is not for children. We are going to be using some fire. This room is well ventilated and I'm just going to carefully run the flame around the edge, trying not to burn the film. It actually doesn't burn, it melts. But if you go too far, it will get a hole in it. So let's just start with this side. And as you can see, I don't need to get the flame too close. Okay. So this is before and this is after. It cleans up the edge really nicely and quickly. So this one is done. Now we want to continue and start making our flower petals. And for this one, I'm taking a piece of wire of about 10 centimeters. And I'm going to start by creating a loop, or actually more a straight side. So it looks something like this. I'm just going to twist these two together. And I want to go and create a petal shape for my flower. So I'm going to round off both corners. I'm using these round nose pliers, something like that. And then I'm going to put a little dip in the center, like that. And now I just have to remove the excess. And that's our first flower petal done. Each flower is going to have 5 of these. So now we're going to make even smaller petals. I'm just going to take a piece of wire. I'm just going to make a loop at the top, right about here. I'm using these round nose pliers, so you get a nice rounding. And then I just want to twist these together again. Then I'm just going to remove the end. And that's our small flower petal done. We're also going to be needing some little seeds. So I'm going to make them using a piece of wire and just creating a little small loop at the top, twisting the wires and cutting off the excess. And that's all done. I'm going to show you how I'm going to be using the nail polish. I think I'm going to start with the small one. And I'm just going to use this golden nail polish. And I've got a little sponge. I'm just going to poke my wire into it. Just like that. Then I'm going to take my nail polish, not scrape the side, but just go straight to our little loop. Just like that. As you can see, it just makes a sort of bubble. So let's go to the bigger petal. For that one, I'm going to use this color. And again, I'm just going to poke it into the foam. And I'm going to take my nail polish and just go over it. You really need to make sure you've got enough polish on your brush. Let's go for the leaf. This is slightly bigger. So I'm going to use my green nail polish for that one. I'm just going to hold my brush at an angle and just run it over the wires. And you can see it makes like a film. It's the same way you would be making bubbles with washing up liquid. Instead of just dipping it into the solution and creating this film, I'm making it by pulling the polish over it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but now we come to the bigger one. And this one is going to probably be a little bit harder. I'm going to use this iridescent purple. As you can see, it's a little bit harder. So let's try that again. It's because there's not that much left in this bottle, so it's really hard to get a decent amount on the brush. And it's all about surface tension. So as you can see, the nail polish is creating this film, but it has a harder time making it thicker at the stretchy part. So you could just move it like this. But what I like to do is just leave it, let it dry, and do a second coat.
1 hour later.
Because this polish is a little bit transparent, I'm going to add a second layer. And I'm going to look to which side has the most gold. And I'm going to flip it the other way. I'm just doing that because it looks better if you have one side with a little bit more of the gold wire showing. And now I'm going to let it dry. So this is how I create my film using the nail polish. And please keep in mind, work in a well-ventilated area because the nail polish does have a bit of a smell. So you don't want to be breathing it in quite that long. So I'm going to put this to the side and we're going to create our bigger petals. This is what we're going to be making next. It's our big flower with the little seed pods in the center. So let's start by making the center. We want it to look something like this. To achieve it, we're going to be taking our seed pods, they're still loose, and just gathering them up together, trying to make them even at the top. Then holding the top, I'm going to twist the bottom. Let's take some pliers to make it a little bit easier. And I want to make sure that I'm leaving a little bit of length at the top. So we just want to twist the bottoms. I'm just going to hold these here. I made the mistake of making these ends too short. That's why it's falling apart that easy. So make sure you make those ends a little bit longer than I did, because it will work. It's just going to be a little bit harder to get it to stay together. So I think that will do. So let's go to the next step. So the next shape we are going to be creating is this one. And this is the petal of one of the bigger flowers. And to make this one, we're going to be needing one long piece of about 15 centimeters and 3 shorter pieces of about 6 centimeters. You could have 3 or 4, but I'm going to show you how I made this one. I'm going to start by just bending the tip of one of the shorter ones, like that. I'm going to place it in about the center of the long one, holding it in place with a pair of pliers. I'm just going to twist the short end around the bigger wire. If you want a tighter twist, use a second pair of pliers and snip off the end. That's our first piece done. Now I'm just going to add one at each side. Oh no, let's try that again. So sometimes when you over twist your wire, it can snap like that. So I'm just trying to be a little bit careful. It is really thin wire. As you can see on my example, they are spaced out quite evenly. So I'm just going to add the third one and I'm going to put it on the other side. Let me measure. I'm actually going to put it on the shorter side. I'm just holding the wire in place like this. And then I'm just twisting these. I think this should be fine. If I want to, I can take this little end off. So now we have 3 short pieces on the longer wire. And if you look at the shape of my petal, you can see that it goes down at the end. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to bend the shorter piece down. It's going to be about the same length as the other 3. And to do the same on the other side. So the top is looking like this. And now we have to twist all these loose ends together. So I'm going to be holding these together and starting to just twist the long one around it. But I'm just going to do it once. And then pull it down. Then I'm going to check my length. And as you can see, I made it way too long. So my twist needs to be up here. I'm just going to untwist and do that one more time, just a little bit higher up. That's a lot more even. And because I'm going to need this long piece, I'm going to start twisting with one of the other ends. I'm just going to pick the longest one, put it to the side, and just start twisting it around. And you can use your fingers, or again, you can put the pliers on top and twist. That way it's going to be a little bit tighter. And I'm just going to cut away all these extra bits. So we end up with something like this. And if you like, you can create a little bit more shape at the top by just taking your pliers, putting them somewhere and giving it a little twist, like so. That creates this little bump. And if you're happy with the shape, you can move on to the next one. And I try to make them a little bit playful, so each one is a little bit different. I've got one more design I want to create, and that's this one. And for this one, we're going to be not cutting our wire. We're going to be keeping it on the spool for now. And I'm going to be using a marker to wrap my wire around. And I'm going to start by finding how long our end is going to be, about this long. So I'm going to place my marker there. And then I'm going to start wrapping it around and creating 5 loops. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I have 5 loops. I'm just going to take it off of my marker. And you get this coil. Now we can cut off this end. I'm going to keep it a little bit longer. So what we want to do is we want to make these coils, they're now separate. We want to make them one piece by looping this short end around all of them. So I'm just going to go under, through, and pull. So now it loops around. And to secure that, we're going to be twisting these. I want it to be quite tight, but not too tight that the wire is going to break. I think that will do. I'm just going to remove this loose end. Now we can start shaping our loops. I'm just going to be folding them open. And because we have 5, we need to overlap them a little bit. So hopefully you can see. I'm going to try and pull these It's a little bit difficult, but you just want to open it up so you can create that flower shape like that. And then we're going to be creating these little dips first. And the easiest way to do that is by just getting your pliers, putting them on the top, twisting them. That way you get that little dip. So this is the shape we have now, but we want them to be upright. You can put it in your hand. I'm just going to take my marker, place it on top, and just push the marker in the center and fold the petals around it. Just use your fingers to make the shape a little bit more bowl-like. And there you go. That's our little flower. Option 2. So let's make one of these. Take a petal and twist one side like that, and then twist the other side. That creates this little pointy thing. I'm just going to do that for all the petals. So it looks a little bit funny, but you can always reshape it. And now I want to pull them in. I'm just going to bend them with my finger. You can also grab the ends and just push it together. This is what you end up with. So the final thing we need to do is put everything together. Many hours later, and this is what I ended up with. I think we should have enough to start assembling some flowers. And I think I want to start with these small ones. So I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to make this work. I'm just gonna try it. And I thought I needed 5 petals, but maybe 4 is already enough. So let's see how it looks when you put 4 of these together. First of all, I think we need to bend these, something like that. So I'm just gonna put the 4 petals together and see how that looks. I think we're going to need that 5th one. I think it's going to end up something like this. Guys, I didn't think this through. I just started making the petals and I thought it's going to be easy to just put them together. But I think it's going to be harder than I thought. Let me have a little look-see how this is going to work and I'll show you what I end up with more than a little later. So I think I figured it out. This is what my first one looks like. So what I'm going to do is going to just take 5 of the petals, put them close together, take a loose piece of wire, put that together with the petals like so, but having one end stick up, and try and bend this short end around the base. And to make it really tight, I'm going to use 2 pliers. Once I have it wrapped around, I can tighten it even more by putting my pliers over the end and rotating it. And I'm also twisting the ones on the bottom, slowly moving this one down. I think that's tight enough. I'm just going to cut off these loose ends. And now I'm going to fold the petals outward. Here I started folding them at the base, but then it looks really open. So I think I want to try and bend them a little bit higher. I'm going to do it very carefully not to damage them. Something like this. So now I need to get one petal here and the other one there. Just going to carefully try and place them where I want them, and then bend. I think I might have to swap these 2. Oh, that's so cute. This one is so much better than that one. Look at the difference it makes where you fold the petals. Yeah, I'm going to make all of them look like this. Let's move on to the second flower, the slightly bigger ones. So this is what I want to make. Starting out with just the 5 petals. I'm just going to place them all together, add the extra piece of wire, start wrapping it around the top. Then I'm going to add the second pair of pliers, just to make it easier to hold. Trying to get it quite tight. Then I'm going to start twisting the whole thing. Don't over twist it because the wires will break. I'm going to remove these ends. I'm just going to fold them outward so it's easier to get to them with the nippers. I think I almost cut the middle one. So now I'm just going to twist these ends a little bit more. So this is what I end up with. Now I'm going to fold the little petals outward. And I try to start with the petal that's on the outside. Like as you can see, these are all a little bit stuck in the middle. This one is all the way on the outside. So I'm going to start with that one. And I'm just going to use my nail as leverage. Then I'm going to take this one that's next to it. And on the other side. Then I've got these 2 stuck in the middle. So I need to figure out where I want those. And this one is going to be the one on the left. I'm going to fold this one to the right side. Hold on. I got a special delivery for you. So, where was I? I think I was about to fold the last little petal. So in this case, I'm going to have to twist it to fit in here. Just like that. And to make it a little bit more playful, you can actually fold the petals over. In this case, I'm just going to use my pliers. Just going to carefully hold it and give it a little bend. As you can see, the nail polish is actually quite sturdy. I think that looks cute. So I'm just going to do that for all of these petals. This is what we're going to be doing next. I've got my little seed pod collection and I took 4 of the big petals. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be placing them around the seed pods, trying to match them up lengthwise. So let's start with 1 petal on each side, like so. And now I'm going to add a petal on this side. I'm going to try and make it fit in between the 2 that I already had. Last one on the other side. I don't know if it makes any sense, but I'm trying to push the petals together as close as I can. So this is what I end up with. You can see they're kind of meshed together. That way the bases are really, really tight. And now I need to take my long piece of wire. I'm gonna place it with quite some length at the bottom. And then I'm just going to start twisting it around the top. To get it to be a little bit more tightly, I'm just going to use my pliers and pull really, really strongly. I want this to be tight because we don't want the seed pods to fall out of the center. For the last little part, I'm just going to use 2 pliers just to make it easier on my hands. So this is what we have right now. Now we need to finish off the bottom. And I'm going to start by just twisting these 4 together, just making it a little bit more compact. And I'm going to be twisting the big wire around this. The reason I'm having troubles is because my hands hurt a lot, and that's due to my illness. So for anybody else, it's going to be a lot easier to do. This is just me struggling with the pain in my hands. Otherwise, I could just hold the wire with my hands and twist it. But now I just need to use the pliers to relieve some of the tension on my hands. I'm going to twist it to the bottom, just tightening it up just a little bit more. I want to prevent these poking ends. It just doesn't look pretty and you don't want to poke your finger into them. So now it's fully twisted and secure. So we can now bend the petals. And I'm going to find the one that's on the outside, just bending them out a little bit first so I know where to start. And I'm again going to use my finger as a template to bend them around, because I don't want to bend it at the very base. I don't want to bend the petal here. I want to bend it a little bit higher. I think that looks good. As you can see, the bend is higher than where the bases are. And I'm just going to open up the seeds. And you can bend them a little bit with the pliers, so they show a little bit more. I think I like this one. Maybe this petal is a little bit straight, so I'm just going to bend it a little bit more, just because I prefer the bended shape. But yeah, there you go. That's a big flower done. So I think we have all our pieces done, and we can start decorating our main piece. And I think I'm just going to start by placing these big flowers. And I'm just going to look and see where they would go. I'm just going to roughly place them. So I want one here. I'm just going to put them upside down. It's easier. So I think something like this. I also want to already have an idea of where I want to place these. I've got 2 flowers. I'm going to place a decoration in between. So it goes like this. And the same here. So I would put that one here. Then one here. So I've got 2 more of these. So I want one in this line. So it's probably going to end up somewhere here. And then I want one in between this line. So I've got 3 on top, 4 on the bottom. So I'm going to do the 4th probably there. And I think the safest way to start is with the one on the side, because I think I can attach them to the outer rim. So I'm just going to take a picture. So I just bent the underside in the 90 degree, and I'm just going to try and attach it right about here. And I think I'm going to start from underneath and just wrap the wire around. So that's on there. Let me check my picture. I think we had one here on the top. So let's again bend this to a 90 degree, like so. I'm going to attach it right about here. It's not as tight as the other one. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to start applying the ones on the edges, and then we will get back to the rest just to create some sort of base. So I've got a couple of the small flowers on. I secured it on the right side first, and then I created a little bridge between the ring and the flower just to make it stay in place. And I thought, let's do that same thing, but with a bigger flower in the center. So I did modify the end. So it used to be like this, and now it's like that. And I've cut a piece of wire that will be able to go between these 2 flowers. I'm just going to try and find the center by folding it over. Just going to poke it through that hole I made. So I'm just going to twist it till it's tight. So now the big flower is on the center of this wire. It's not going anywhere. And now I want to secure it between these 2 flowers. And I'm just going to see if I want it to be right in the center or maybe a little lower. And because I want it to be a little lower, I'm going to secure it to the top one first because my wire is the shortest on that end. So I'm just going to fold that end over, making a hook. And I'm just going to hook it onto that flower. I'm just going to twist these wires together to secure the flower. You really need like 3 hands to do this. That's why it's so difficult to get this on camera. But the wire secured onto this flower, and I'm just going to cut off the excess. So we wanted to go to this flower here. I'm just going to loop my big flower wire around the little one. Just hook it on. I'm just going to double loop it, just like so. Just to make it secure, I'm just going to twist those wires a little bit more. It's just a lot of wire twisting. You're not just going to have to find the right placement, add some wire, and just twist them together to secure it. Because once it's twisted around each other, it's secure enough that it will stay in place. So now the big flower is just stuck in between those 2 small ones. So I'm going to do that the same for the rest of the big ones, so we can see how much we already filled up. So here's where I'm at. I've just been building kind of a framework to be able to add more of the flowers I made. So for example, I want this one to go about here. So I'm going to bend it at the base because I want it to face up. And now I want to attach it to my frame right here. I'm going to do that by twisting the end of my flower around my frame. Just holding the 2 together with my pliers just to make it easier. And I want it to be quite tight. This is the hard part. You need the 2 pliers to be able to twist it a little bit tighter. So I think that will do. Now I'm just going to place my flower where I want it, just like that. It's kind of floating in mid-air, but because it's wire, it will stay put. And that's the way I'm going to try and fill up the blank areas. I don't want to overdo it, so I think I want to keep this area to be a little bit more open just to make sure that you're still going to be able to read the sign. And well, I think I'm just going to do that and I'll show you the final result. So here it is, the final piece, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. I love how the colors work with the gold. And as you can see, I added a lot more leaves and a couple of different kinds of flowers. I just tried some different shapes. These, for example, were triangles starting out. I really like these ones on the bottom. They're really cute. And if you'd like to see me make them in the future video, just leave a comment down below and I will try to make that. I didn't think it would come out looking so nice with just some nail polish and wire. What do you think of the technique using the nail polish? I really enjoyed it. It's so easy. You have so many choices of colors to go from. And I also love how the iridescent film came out. It just gives that little pop of whimsical to it. What are your thoughts on this piece? I really like it. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for stopping by. I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye everyone! So these were all fails. I've been working on this project for over, I think, 2 months now, and I thought as a little bonus I'll show you a little bit of my mistakes or experiments. They're not actually fails, they did work. So I tried using glue and liquid colors to do the same thing as the nail polish because I thought you can get cool gradients and maybe get like a more opaque color. But the problem with the glue is, I don't know if you can see it here, but the more layers you apply, it eats away. So you get these weird patches and it just doesn't look as good as the nail polish. It just looks a little bit, how do you say it? A little bit crusty. So you could do it, but I would still recommend using the nail polish. The only thing is with the glue, you can fill in bigger areas by painting it on top of a sheet of parchment paper. But yeah, these are my experiments.